Changes
His ankle there, nice kick.
He comes Jordan
Come back with those hands again.
Hey, yo, your boys are back again.
Hello.
Yeah. How's things on this lovely Sunday?
I mean, like a little reprieve from the rain. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it though? But like,
It looks like it's coming back.
yeah, I just look over my shoulder, go, I don't know about that. but yeah, it's been a wild and woolly one this whole week, and it's like it's very nice today though.
Past about 6 months. Savings end last night.
Yeah, I got thrown off today.
I was unaware.
Like I look at my phone, I was like, oh, it's just so sunny. It's like, okay, and then I go outside looking at the house, go, what the fuck's going on? And
I have jet lag.
yeah, and like the kids are up super early as well. Okay, go back to fucking bed. But hey, I don't mind a bit extra time
Not
to
too
do
bad.
stuff. Yeah,
How was the week?
it's good. Like, just solid. Just got a couple of boys on that Yokow show coming up, so vibe's been pretty good training.
Who have you got on there?
So in the pros, we got Luke Taylor versus
course, yep.
Hugh Davies.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
Yeah, I saw him we saw him on hardcore.
Yeah,
we
look good.
he looked alright.
He got bigger, eh?
He has.
Yeah.
That's it. He's
Looks
a
strong.
Unit.
Yeah.
Who else do I have on that? I have. Do I have any amateurs on? Oh, I got young Zach.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Versing a boy from Queensland.
Queensland, we're in Queensland.
I'm pretty sure it's from Double Dose.
Oh, cool,
So
cool.
the rights. So it'd be good to see them down here.
Oh, yeah, that'll be nice.
I'm pretty sure though. Yep, I'm pretty sure it's from their gym. And then I got a couple in the development. I got Jordan. I got Dakota. So it's a full day, full lock day.
Yeah, no, Dakota's on the dev day.
Yeah.
Is that weird? Did he fight like...
Oh, he fought on 70-74 with amateur, but that was meant to be dev day.
Oh, okay, yep.
Shin pad mix up.
I remember. Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be cool.
That's an experience. Whatever from there. About yourself, you got anything on the pipeline?
Still finding out. I'm pretty sure I know what's next, but I don't know if it's like confirmed or whatever. I'll probably be back. I'm pretty sure I'll be back in the ring in May. So
Yeah, I just mean hopefully soon.
Yeah, I mean, like I've been told, but
just waiting for the official releases.
yeah, I've been holding like 1 billion rounds of pads
Oh yeah.
this week, so I'm
Shoulders
ready
and
to.
that.
I'm ready to just fucking stop helping.
True. That's fair. That's fair.
Stop
I get it.
contributing and
Focus
just-
on me.
Yeah, stop giving and start taking.
All right, let's get into like the stuff we did this week. So this is a little bit of a relaxed fit. No guests this week.
We're pretty relaxed all the time. I think.
Yeah, no like breakdowns or anything like that or previous. But we will look at a couple of events that just recently passed that was interesting, and we also have a couple of questions that came in as well. We'll answer those.
Keep sending questions. I like the question thing.
Yeah,
I had some good ones.
I think it's been just a while since we just actually asked for questions, so people are like a little bit out of tune of it.
Yeah.
Or you can always go to the Ring Lovers and they just answer lots of questions.
Yeah. Shout out to the ring lovers.
Yeah, shout
I also
out.
get my problems. Like I get a lot of questions in conversation. Like I try to ask for the questions, but people ask me questions like, "Oh, you should talk about this." I'm like, "That's a really good idea," but then I forget.
Yeah.
So if you want me to answer something, or you want my like, this other thing, like with the questions, is like it doesn't actually have to be like a question. It can just be something you want to hear about. That's where I get some of the best ones. I mean, like, because I get told a lot, like, I think you should talk about this, but then when it comes to actually, like, you don't have to phrase it as a question.
Yeah.
It can just be something that you want to hear. That's where I get some of the best ones from, is when it's, you know, it doesn't have to be packaged like that unless you want
Questions or just like, conversations.
Yeah.
You want us to have.
Just
Yeah, it's cool.
things you want me to
Actually,
talk
speaking
shit
about conversations and stuff, that you briefly got to meet the man Matt Lucas.
What an enigma. Yeah, thank you, Matt Lucas, for making some time. But I get a message from Matt Lucas, like when I finished training, I took my phone back out to go home, and he says, "Hey, I'm in Sydney, let's get dinner." And it's like,
Where?
which of course, when Matt Lucas texts, you answer. Everyone knows that. But like, I didn't bring any. Like, I was at training. I did not bring any clothes. I went to go see him, but then I took him. I know he is a vegan, so I thought I'd take him to Newtown.
Fair.
But then like we couldn't even find like a decent vegan place. I'm not an expert. Like there is a lot of them, but I didn't know which one. So I just looked at the Google.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we ended up doing vegan pizza. That was a pretty good place for vegan pizza. Shout out to Epic Pizza.
Nice.
But I was just so ill prepared. I was still wearing my disgusting training shorts. And I almost lost my car because Newtown is like horrendous to park.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's not car friendly.
I knew it was a shitty place to take him, but like, I don't know. Well, where do you take someone who needs a high quality vegan feed, and they're only in Sydney for a night? It would have to be the front runner.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, luckily I found my car again.
That's all right. Not enough time to do any TikToks?
No TikToks. One little bit of content, but same thing. I wasn't ready. Nothing to say. I'm always a bit frazzled right after training.
Yes.
That's me in my most frazzled state is immediately after training. Like I'm not ready to have a conversation with another human being. But like he was only there till the next morning.
Yeah.
But no, it was really good to see Matt and Talk Shop.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Got some nice apparel. Thank you.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
And Ute fight gear.
Oh, you? Okay, sweet. All right.
For this very sharp polo.
Yes. So also like Matt Lucas was at a show as well. That was in Queensland, Infliction, and the main card was David Pennimpede versus Youssef Boughanem. I didn't actually get to see this fight because there's a lot going on that night, fight-wise.
A lot going on.
That was a big weekend of fights.
Sometimes I'm thankful that I just like have shit going on in my personal life. Or I wouldn't have time.
But you got to see the fight itself.
I did.
So how did it look? How did it pan out?
Great fight. Interesting little situation for Infliction fight series because they had to do a venue swap the day of or something.
Because they're usually an outdoor type show.
Generally an outdoor show. I don't know.
Leave it to the hands of the gods, that type of stuff. Though.
I mean, there's been rain in Queensland the last few weeks. Yeah. I probably would have prepared a contingency plan.
A few buckets.
Yeah, but apparently it was coming down pretty bad, and they had to switch to an indoor show. Like, I want to say it was the day of or the day before.
Well, I think they do a boxing show the day before, and then they do maybe the Muay Thai show afterwards.
Yes, they
do. Yeah, 2-day show.
I think it was only really... Like it was, I'm pretty sure it was within 24 hours of the show that they had to come. Because you could see as well I only watched the main event. I didn't see any of the other fights. But it looked like everyone was like really, really tightly packed in, like the outdoor show. Maybe it would have suited the crowd size a little bit better. The show sold really well. I don't know if it was a sellout, but there was a big crowd.
Yeah.
Packed in a big, loud crowd. Davey and Yusuf, good fight. Did you see some highlights or?
Yeah, I saw some highlights from there. It looked pretty back and forth. A lot of stuff of Yusuf's like left kick and a lot of David coming back with hands and elbows. Very loose top rope kind of deal.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, like Yusuf is a real favourite of mine and a legend, and I think it's something about watching. Like I'm very friendly with Dave. I've trained with Dave a lot. I really like him. So it was like I was really excited for this one and was pretty involved in watching it. Was watching it and kind of talking to some of my friends at the same time. It's something that makes it so interesting to watch someone like Yusuf fight someone that you know so well. Like it kind of puts it in an almost different context. But Yusuf is just like there's something about, and I was talking to Matt about it this week, there's something just fascinating about the whole way he operates. Like from the first second that he's walking out, like he took minutes to even emerge. So Davey walked first and Yusuf walked second to this very slow, really interesting walkout track. And he took so long to come out. And like, I feel like that's on purpose.
That veteran kind of move.
Yeah, like that. Like I'm gonna let you go out into the ring and just fucking stand there.
just like stewing it a bit.
Yeah, and the same thing is when they start doing the run Muay. Like Yusuf is gonna do circles around the ring until you do something. Like he's like, I'll be here all day.
I'm the man.
You go down first. Yeah.
I'm the man.
Like, I mean, look, maybe I'm just reading into it too far, but I feel like there's method to the madness here. Like, I think Yusuf is trying to come in here. Like, I don't care that I'm in your country. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
I'm Yusuf. But, like, for those who are unaware as to who Yusuf is and why it's such a big deal that he's fighting Davies, like, Yusuf is one of the most accomplished middleweight. He often gets called one of the best foreign fighters of this generation, but he's one of the most accomplished middleweights of this generation.
Yeah, regardless.
Like multiple stadium champion, Omnoy, Rajadamnern,
Yep.
WBC champion. He's done it all, like even by Thai standards, a hell of a rap sheet. Davey's, of course, one of the best, established. I'd still call Davey like an up-and-comer, although he is one of the best, most established, like an international up-and-comer.
Yes.
As you'd say, but one of the most established Australian fighters, at the minute. Also very interesting that this was Davey coming down in weight, which I think we discussed last week. Davey's a career super middleweight and has fought some well-established and very capable light heavyweights as well. He's fought up closer to that 80 kilo mark. Has a WMC title at light heavyweight. So 74 was quite a significant.
Well, like the fight before this, was it the George Mann fight?
Yes.
This one?
Yeah.
It's like the stark difference in sizes there.
Yeah.
You can see.
Super middleweight. That was super middleweight, international title, or whatever they call that one. So interesting to see Davey coming down in weight a little bit, and looks like, 74 is starting to nudge that middleweight territory. So it'll be interesting to see if that's the plan to get him further along down to there, because he looks very different. His composition is super, super different.
Well, it's like we talked about when saw him the Siam to Sydney. From there, and I just go, who's this guy?
Yeah.
I just go, I don't even recognise who he is anymore.
Yeah, he's trimmed down a lot.
Yeah.
Looks really strong. Like, looks like he's in... Because what's interesting to me about Davey at 74 and now maybe entertaining the idea of middleweight, if that's the path he chooses to follow. Like, I know he always made weight, but I know he's... he used to put in some work to make super middleweight. Like, he's had some
He had some fires on him.
Yeah. Yeah, massive quads. Maybe just strip the quads a little bit. Yeah, so it's interesting. To the best of my understanding, he made 74 really, really easily, and I think he might in like half a kilo under.
Okay, cool. So easy cut.
Sounds to me like he's really has really changed his. Not like his strategy. I don't think this is like a difference in weight cutting strategy. I think this is like a really significant composition change. So that's opens a lot of sort of doors, because like he was never a massive super middleweight or light heavyweight. Like, once you're starting to get to the higher ends of those weight classes, these guys are big.
He was always on the smaller side.
Yeah, or like a little bit on the smaller side in terms of frame, and just 80% legs.
Yeah, because he always matched him strength-wise and that, but when it comes to stature and things, like his total height frame, he was just a little bit small. Yeah,
and that's what... Look, it'd be interesting. I know him and Jay Tonkin have talked about wanting to fight.
Match.
And that was the idea, I think, getting thrown around there was a catch weight. So maybe they'll meet a middleweight, or maybe they'll still do the catch weight anyway. I don't know.
Well, it's like, I guess... it was Jay Tonkin just recently just said, like, he goes, it's like his match got get canned. I think maybe the whole card might have got canned.
Yeah,
I can't confirm that though. But like, hey, look, people need matches. There's plenty going around at the moment, that weight division.
Yeah, and I think Davey fits in very nicely down there. Not to get sidetracked from talking about the fight, but it's an interesting kind of contextual thing, is that like you wouldn't even really think of Davey and Yusuf as like, if you asked me 2 years ago, Yusuf's coming to Australia, who should he fight? I probably wouldn't have thought Davey in the mix just by nature. If he was like a super middleweight, light heavyweight, and Yusuf's a career middleweight. Yep. So, yeah, that's interesting. And it's a funny thing for Davey, because this was his second fight out of Muay under Kieran Walsh. But he's been there a couple of years now, I want to say. A couple of years. Be coming up on a couple of years there, but obviously, the way of the world in the time that he's been there. And also, like we say, he's fought twice. He got on the scales 3 times.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
2 and 1, really close call. That was when War on the Shore, unfortunately, was cancelled on the day. For anyone listening in who doesn't understand. But first 2 fights for Muay, George Mann and Youssef Boughanem.
These are like top tier.
These are 2 like guys. George is at present the best light heavyweight in the world. He has the belt to prove it. Yusuf, the best middleweight of a generation. These are big fights, and it's one of those things where he came up short by a little in both times, but was not outclassed either time and gave both guys a good run. So I think especially if he's changing, it's one of those things where the results don't necessarily tell the story because you can see how much better David's. Like David's a different fighter, completely different fighter than in the fights where he made his name.
Yeah,
you know, like he was always really good, but I see he's much more ring smart now.
Yeah,
like a new, but also like his whole kind of approach is very different. Like I really remember watching David come up as this like kind of all aggression, you know, like all gas, no brakes, hands and leg kick stylist, and he's much more diverse in his approach now and much more patient. And it's, I think in fights like this one, like a lot of the time the ask from the corner is like, you know, just go after it. Yeah, like just put your foot on the gas and try to give him too much to deal with. And we've kind of talked about that approach before. I think that's when, like, if that's your instruction against a guy of Yusuf's caliber, I don't think you actually trust your planning ability because you're just saying, like, just try to win with a puncher's chance.
Yeah,
not like
the kitchen sink.
Don't try to outskill him. Don't try to genuinely outskill him and plan around what he's going to do. Like, just do everything and hope for the best. But that was not the approach here at all, even if that might have lent itself to a previous style applied by Dave. Because David's always been a really hard guy to deal with. Like, we've seen him just absolutely rip through some people, kick people's legs off. Just he used to kind of drown people. He was too much to deal with. Whereas, like, he went out there against Yusuf and it's that same thing. Like, Davey's now pushing that international level, and that's where you have to start to layer your game a little bit more because people are seeing just the all aggression kind of style. Of course, there's a place for that tempo.
Of course, with this,
when the situation calls for it.
With this fight, though, did you see a kind of clear thing from David where he thought their path for victory was against Yusuf?
I think you could see, like, I saw. If we look at this fight round by round, I could kind of... David was quite happy to... Yusuf is a forward fighter. They call him the Terminator. He likes to wear people down and break them, but he's a forward technical fighter. Like, he's not like a blitzing high. He's not a blitzing volume for the sake of volume kind of fighter. Like, he's a strategic, break you down kind of... Like, he's an aggressive technician and he's quite relentless. And Davey, I felt, was reasonably content to kind of settle into the ropes. And then I think there's this very, very interesting moment in the back end of the first round where, like, Yusuf was getting frustrated and he was getting frustrated with David's lack of willingness to just meet him in the middle and kind of just crash into him. Like, Yusuf, towards the end of the first round, and this is like what we're talking about in a roundabout way. He's so fascinating to watch the way he plays the game and controls every aspect of the fight. Like, Yusuf drops his hands, stops fighting. I can't hear what he said to David, but it's actually just verbally says something and then starts going and walks himself back into the middle of the ring and says, "Come here." And it was like, it wasn't like a one gesture. It was like he completely stops fighting. And this whole thing goes for 15, 20 seconds of him speaking to David and saying, "Come here and fight me." And I think that's like probably lends itself to, and David was very calm. He didn't get sucked into anything there. He just kind of shrugs and stays where he is.
You gotta be pretty disciplined the whole way.
Yeah, he says, "You come get me." You know, he's getting a little bit frustrated that maybe David surprised him. I don't know if he's watched some tape or maybe has seen David in his more aggressive, you know, his previous sort of style. But David was pretty content to sit on the ropes and kind of look to pick some kicks and try to, like, I could see him trying to walk Yusuf onto things. Like, there was a couple of these straight elbow counters to Yusuf's punch-based entry, like David trying to come over the top. And this really nice angle that he does quite like an upward forward right elbow. See him kind of just trying to find the range on that a little bit early and probably just being a little bit too far away. Yusuf the whole time chipping over. That left kick is a thing of beauty. Man, everything. But Yusuf is so, like, solid through his midsection. Like, that's where all his size is. And I think that I would have to imagine with that comes a lot of power. And I see that the way that he just builds that loud left kick, just sending that flying into Davey's arm, and sort of, that's very, very difficult to deal with. And Davey, through the middle rounds, had really started to figure out that kick for kick. You know, it's hard to block all Yusuf's kicks because he's just so he's just throwing it. And if you block, I feel like Yusuf's kicking style is the same thing. It's just that relentless, like block it. I'm just going to hurt your block.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to break you. So David started to really get that good. If I'm going to eat a kick, I'm going to fire a kick right back. Like not let Yusuf just get on that relentless roll. I thought David did that really well. Just kept those scores going and just kept the tempo of the fight. Like Yusuf is one of those fighters that when he's at his best when he starts to build momentum. So even if you can't negate his ability to score or his ability to do some damage on you, you have to keep yourself in the fight and kind of just give him things to fight through. And that's how you not quite let him get on that roll. I thought the sort of round 2, round 3, Yusuf's power kicks were just a big difference maker. But that being said, David was coming back really well. Like he left some welting on Yusuf's leg. Even in the first round, like I kind of see like, oh, he's doing visible damage on Yusuf. And then round 4 and round 5, I felt you could kind of see from Dave, it was like, okay, we've got to kind of throw everything. And I could hear Kieran in the corner sort of just saying, David, you've got to war with him a bit. This is how it's going to be. Yeah. And started to do like, I can't say for sure, but I think David put some hands on you. Like David was throwing this nice long right hand that's a bit differently to how I've seen him punch in the past. Like quite refined, and I thought it stung Yusuf a couple of times. Like Yusuf's very, very, very good at playing things off, but I thought he looked a bit stunned once or twice towards back in the fight. And then David cut Yusuf.
Oh, nice.
In round 4. With that upward elbow, it's like I could see what he was looking to do early, but it was when Yusuf started to get in that later fight kind of tempo, really trying to run David down. That's where it was, and that's the kind of tempo that I think that was designed for. Cut him quite nicely, not in a terrible spot or anything like that. It was kind of weird. The ref had a towel in his hand during the fight, and when there was a break, would wipe blood off Yusuf.
Is that the job of the ref?
In this case, it was.
Usually it's like the ref goes like, go to the corner or go to the doctor.
You're not supposed, because like you've got a beach towel and you're rubbing it into it. That's not how you clean blood from a cut.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
not good for it, or
no, it's a bit abrasive.
You might just rip it open more.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was it because I've seen this in Sunshine State a little bit. I mean, I get it. Like it's that old school reffing thing of just keep the fight going. I'm just going to wipe the blood from his face, but that's not
Murph style.
yeah, maybe. But then it was interesting as well because Davey was liking that hanging back off the rope, and he was being a little bit cheeky. He was grabbing the rope.
Didn't he go over the top rope a couple
quite
times?
a lot? And Yusuf, this is like we said, Yusuf is in control of everything, and he has it's experience. It has to be. You can't get this anywhere else in that. Like he zoned in on the fight, but at one point Davey's grabbing the rope. He talked to the ref a lot, said he's grabbing the rope, and talked to David, said stop grabbing the rope. And you can see them having a little conversation. And at one point he starts to get really pissed off about it. And David puts his arm over the rope, and Yusuf leans both of them over and starts speaking to the ringside judges. And he's not. It's the same thing. It's like we talk about that opening part of the fight where it's not 1 second of come here. It's a complete disrupt, stop, and you're going to listen to what I have to say. He leans over the rope to the point where, like, I think the ref was a bit unsure what to do. Like, you've got to bring him back in, and you don't let someone start to converse with ringside judges while they're fighting.
Yes.
But no one tries. So that's why it's probably like it's not something you have to deal with that much.
This is a first.
Yeah, he leans out and he starts going back and forth, and he's making sure that they're listening, and he's not shouting something out and then getting back to fighting. He's stopping for a conversation to say he's grabbing the rope, and that's illegal. And then as the later parts of the fight, because I could see what the logic was, like Yusuf has really good sweeps from there. Like he likes to catch those kicks and kind of just, so Davey would he was being a little bit conservative with his kick. Like he tried to position himself. And I've had chats with people in the gym about this. Like it's one of those things that can be a bit of a grey area, because if you can kind of position like your back and your upper shoulders against the ropes as you kick, so that if a sweep comes through, they're there to upright yourself.
Yep. That's
a little bit of just craft, but outright hooking your arm over the rope is of course not allowed.
Illegal.
So you can see what the goal was just to position himself against the rope, so that if Yusuf catches that kick, David can kind of snatch it back and be upright right to kind of run Yusuf onto something. I like doing that.
Yep.
That kind of lean back against the ropes, and people will argue with each other about whether, because I think it's just the thing is when you like that, it's so easy to just be cheeky and make sure the ref's on the other side and hook your arm over. So, yeah, Davey at one point just had his arm hooked over the rope, and Yusuf's like, you know what? Fuck it. And he takes the law into his own hands and just throws Davey over. It happened twice. He threw David head first over the ropes, and he landed on the judges' table. And it was interesting in that it was so deliberate.
What do you do as a ref in that kind of situation?
I'm not getting in his way.
Yeah. it's like well, that's you guys.
I think it's tricky because Yusuf made a pretty valid point. He's like, I've told you 10 times his arm's over the rope. So it's a bit like you could say, you'd warn him, don't on purpose. That's another thing that's great too, is you could be like, I didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was pretty obvious he was doing it. Because if someone's arm is over the rope and they're leaning themselves away from you, it's not a hard thing to do. Like, it relies on you choosing not to do it because it's not allowed. But it's like, that's, again, it's experience. Like, that's how Yusuf, I'm sure he's done it before.
Yeah.
You want to grab the rope? Man, yeah, I think it was one of those like eye for an eye kind of things where it's difficult to penalise anyone because it comes back to, because Yusuf could say it just happened because his arm was over the rope. If he doesn't put his arm over the rope, he won't end up out of the ring. It's hard to penalise anyone.
Yeah, true.
But the same thing with the arm grabbing thing. At one point, Yusuf's corner was so angry that they stayed in the ring a long time, and the ref applied a count to the corner.
Wow.
Which, like, I cannot remember. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I've heard about it, but I've never seen it actually happen.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's so interesting. This fight is like so many interesting points.
So many layers. Yeah. That was fascinating.
Yeah.
I've never. Maybe I have, but I don't. Like, within Australia, I don't think I've ever seen that.
It sounds like in general the fight, like itself, but even just the whole thing, it's like, just one for the history books.
Yeah, and I don't know what the implications of that are in a scoring sense, because the 8 count, because you think about what an 8 count is, it's you're giving a defined amount of time to assess whether someone can continue. That's not what, that's symbolic, that 8 count. I don't know if it's like I'm giving you 8 seconds to be completely out of the ring, or I take a point, or if it's like you're trying to show the judges.
Yeah, well, and then it's up to the judge's discretion to make it like.
Like, am I really going to be like, all right, Yusuf's quite soundly winning this fight, but his corner stayed in too long and the ref counted, so I'm going to take a point away. Yeah, I have to talk to my officiating teacher.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good question for him to answer.
I don't know. But yeah, it was a sick fight, and it was close. Like, Davey especially. David showed his class.
Yeah.
Yusuf was Yusuf, of course. Like, I know you're biased. I am biased when my friends fight. Like, but I was watching this because I wanted to see David upset Yusuf. I'm not shy about admitting that.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't the case, I would be a fucking asshole. Really. And I think Yusuf was Yusuf. David showed his class very well and showed he belongs in this caliber of fight. And I also believe showed that he's on the path to start winning fights like this.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it ever looked outside of his, the realm of his capability for him to take this. It's just he got a little bit outdone in the finer moments.
Yep.
Yusuf landed with a little bit more power. Yusuf kept himself in Yusuf's experience showed. But Davey will have gained a lot from just spending 5 rounds. And I think Davey will gain a lot of confidence from putting on a performance like that against Yusuf. Especially in those later rounds. He hurt Yusuf. He definitely hurt Yusuf. He cut him. There were some, completely inarguable things in this fight that Davey did well. And the rate that he's improving is pretty incredible. So, sick fight.
Sweet.
Enjoyed it. And it's good. I like to see more and more we see Australians fighting at this level. It's really sick to see Australian shows have the resources to bring guys of this level in. And we're hanging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, you can see the caliber. We see on local shows the caliber of our fights when we fight each other is going up. And that is being reflected in the efforts that we can put in against. Not just this, because Yusuf is not just high-level international opposition. He's the best of an era.
All time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good that we need to see that for ourselves as for Australia, that we can hang, and then it just kind of inspires more people to.
It should be a good confidence boost, and if you're at Muay learning from David, you should be like, oh, this dude knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Nice. Enjoyed it a lot. I didn't see, like I said, any of the rest of the show. It's a very interesting show structure, Infliction. Natalie beat Shannon Tilbrook.
Oh yeah,
she's coming along quite well. Yeah, and she'll get to go to Lumpini now.
Ah, nice.
See, that's what I like as well. Is this show is bringing in top end fighters, but also pathways are really important.
Well, they're bringing their show to Lumpini.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and Nat gets the trip over, which is really cool.
Awesome.
We like to hear that. And then the rest, it's an interesting one in that like a lot of the undercardies like want to be a fighter type fights. And I had an interesting talk with Matt Lucas on this. He says, because I watch the shows and I'm like, I really want to see my friends fight. I want to see Natalie fight and I want to see David fight, but I don't enjoy watching, like the Muay Thai equivalent of corporate fighter.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it shouldn't happen. It's just, it's not my, I'm not disparaging it. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Like, well, that kind of stuff, that's for, whoever's fighting's for their friends.
Yeah.
It's not for like us that actually like, we actually love Muay Thai and just like want to see good fights.
And that's to say, it's not to say it shouldn't happen or it shouldn't. I'm just saying from my perspective. And I had an interesting chat with Matt Lucas when we were having our business meeting, and he said, no, I actually think as a promoter it works really well.
Oh, understandable.
Because, we know it does, but also he said like, the more the sport starts to support people who we know, I think our sport, and this touches on a little bit of what we talked about last week with how do we grow grassroots Muay Thai. Our sport can be quite closed when it comes to people who we know aren't going to be around long term. Whereas in this case, you have a bunch of fights that are between two people that are just doing it for a kind of novelty. They bring in a bunch of their friends and family because that's where the ticket sellers are. Anyone who's been a promoter would probably agree. It's like first time amateurs that are bringing along a bunch of people to see them fight as a novelty rather than to watch them fight in a professional sporting context. But then you've got all these people are in the room, and then you bring out one of the best, like a true representation of real elite level Muay Thai in David and Yusuf, and maybe you've made a whole arena full of new fans.
Yep.
And that's probably a perspective that I hadn't given enough respect, because it's a funny, like, to us, to me anyway, probably quite similar. Like, I want to watch a fight like Yusuf versus David atop like a really built out undercard of like up and comers. That's why these shows like Rebellion and stuff like that are really good, because that proper Muay Thai all the way to the top, and you watch like the up and comers at the opening part of the show building up towards the veterans. But the reality is that just pulls in people, the same crowd.
It's already in the industry.
Every time, yeah, because we love it. We'll watch anything, whereas like it's creating that showcase environment. It's an interesting idea is how you blend it, because there's a credibility element in that you want to put on high level Muay Thai, but then there's also that sustainability element as you want to pull, because like I'm sure all those people will know who David is now and will want to watch him fight again. And if you don't, then Muay Thai is probably not for you.
Fair.
Anyway, so yeah, it's interesting. Different ways to kind of build the sport. We can be close-minded. There's different ways to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely like mess. I think I never really thought of it like that, but when you say like, that makes ton of sense.
Yeah. I felt like a bit of an arsehole.
But that's okay. But like that's how we're gonna do it. That grass level, that next level is getting the general populace in that's not exposed to it, exposing it to it, and and get him well into Muay Thai.
Yeah,
and the top end by doing maybe some more corporate stuff.
And then it's also like these people that sell the ticket as kind of corporate or want to, I don't know what I guess it's not corporate as such, but they want to be a fighter challenge. That kind of vibe. I know they all have different brand names.
Yeah,
but it's the same. You all know the same concept. You do your little.
There's not like something like in New South Wales. There's not really something like that. The closest thing is Winter Warrior.
Yeah,
but then Queensland has a standard thing. I want to be a kickboxer. Is it?
I think he's want to be a kickboxer.
Yeah,
and then he's Reinhardt doing something of this vibe now.
Actually, yeah, I think so. Yeah. So yeah, it might be that.
There's a little bit of it happening, and it's cool. It's like for bucket listers,
true,
to sign up and do their 12-week challenge or whatever. And it's like these people, I think that's another point that Matt Lucas made when we were discussing it, was he said these people that get a feel for it, and even if they are only going to go in and do it once just to tick it off the bucket list, like they become the most powerful advocates for it because they get that little bit of experience. And it's like we say, the people who really want to watch fights are the people who are current and former fighters. And that's because they have the experience and they can relate to it. And you can kind of offer a little taste of that to the general populace, and that's how they bring friends with them. And maybe next time they're like, okay, that was my one fight, but next time I want to buy a bunch of tickets with my friends and just enjoy it. And I now have that little piece of, that closer involvement. I think, it's a good strategy. Yeah, cool. It makes sense.
Something to look into a bit more.
Just that, if I bought a ticket to watch David fight Yusuf, I don't enjoy that. I mean, I don't not enjoy it. It's just, to me, it's like it's changing hats a lot.
Yeah, true.
But it's like that's the other kind of point that we came to. Is like, I'm not who you're trying to appeal to when you put on a show. Yeah. Because I'm going to be there anyway.
Here. I'm going to be there anyway. You already got my money. Yeah. It's true. It's very true. All right. So let's, obviously let's go quickly into the one stuff.
Quickly?
I know. It was fucking 24-hour show or something like that.
Oh, I think the main event was like 3 a.m. or something.
Oh, yeah. I caught the first two cards, and then the pay-per-view card was just too late. I just never.
To me, honestly, the pay-per-view card was not the most interesting collection of fights. It was Superbon versus Marat was on that card.
Yes.
That was where it fell off a cliff for me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes, yeah. I was just trying to remember.
I'll tell you from a lineup, if you put together, this is the thing I had with this card, just get my notes together. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I know one's thing is like high volume, like we do a show over periods of time, there's a show every week. Like they do a lot of shows a year with a lot of fights. Like we've talked about this before, there'll be a 20 fight card. And that sometimes I think that's for the sake of like to look like they're big into protecting that image of the scale of them as a sports franchise. Mm-hmm. And we start talking about we're doing 3 shows in one day. Like I say, why? Do one show. Why? And there's enough fights on here to make a show I'd give you $50 for, okay? So if you gave me Nong-o versus Lobo, Capitan versus Akimoto, Superbon and Marat, Chingiz and Sidichai, Niki versus Sin Samut, I'd pay you for that.
Yeah.
All those fights were on this show, but they were just spread across 3 of mini. That's the other thing I don't get. 3 shows in one day. It's still one shot.
It's a very long show.
Part 1, part 2, part 3.
It's like, no, but we've heard long enough shows in Australia that as well.
Yeah.
But just not that ultra high caliber.
So, there was enough on there to say this was a huge event. It's just that, I feel a lot of it was filler. Yeah. And that's not like there was... I have to be conscious of. I only like the Muay Thai and the kickboxing stuff, of course. And I know this was now starting to build out their offering a little bit to appeal to different audiences. Like they did some submission grappling, which I, of course, don't know anything about. But
submission grappling, they have their usual MMA stuff as well. From there, I watched the Gaval fight, and that was okay. From there, but same thing. It's like I don't go out of my way to watch a lot of submission grappling, even if I do jiu-jitsu, but. Yeah, this when you got Chingiz and Sidichai, I go, I'm sitting up to watch that.
Yeah, that was a sick fight.
It was a good fight. But let's go. I think a chronological order here. So Nikki Holson getting in from Muay Thai with the small gloves against Clean Me, which I didn't really know much about him.
See, I did not know this. Mm-hmm. He's Sudsakorn's brother.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd seen him fight a little bit. Yeah. But not for a while, and just kind of on the entertainment shows. But they said, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's Sudsakorn's brother.
Wow. He's a big Thai.
Yeah.
Big fella.
Big guy. Yeah. Sudsakorn's big too.
Yeah, true.
Massive, huge frame, really
massive, huge. Watching this match, you can see why Nikki kind of took it, because I don't know if there's a gentleman's agreement, this is on Muay Thai, but he doesn't have that kind of that. I don't know if you want to call that pure Muay Thai style. Very kickboxing tension. Loves a further overhand.
Likes his hands, yeah. Big kicker, I thought.
Big kicker.
It was just kind of that. He's powerful.
Yeah.
Like those kicks were. I thought he did a really good job of just timing Niki and really aiming that kick over the top of Niki's arms to just frame him because he was kicking from both sides, and you could see the way that it would just slam onto Niki's guard. He wasn't aiming for the kind of midsection, and he wasn't coming up. He was aiming because Niki's got that very tight Dutch style guard,
especially with the small gloves on.
Yeah, with those little gloves, nothing to really create that sort of
no padding,
padded sort of padded kind of shield. But he wasn't even. He was timing in a way that Niki, he couldn't really establish his jab. Kind of get into that. He works into range, into that boxing, that inside boxing kind of range really nicely. And maybe there's a degree of apprehension when you know the clinch now exists in the fight and Niki's not a career Muay Thai fighter. That's also very interesting because he's fought Muay Thai twice in a row. It was Wayne Parry's last fight before this.
Yeah.
That was also Muay Thai. And like he was never a career Muay Thai fighter. He has had some Muay Thai fights. Like he fought Kai Hollenbeck in America years and years ago. But he's a career kickboxer and now at 38 years old. Seems to be like, all right.
Okay, so I'll take whatever.
I guess maybe it's to get in the little glove. I think the little gloves kind of suits him.
Suits him.
Like that sort of high volume. He's always had that high volume, only semi-committed kind of disruptive punching style where he comes in combination. He's quite happy to touch, and then just find the one, which is like how
usually
sort of
that body hook or
body, and being able to sneak that body hook in a little bit better, and the way that a lot of his attacks are not. I think a lot of Dutch stylists would struggle with their hands in the little gloves. Yeah, like because everything's 100% committed, quite round, short shots. Like you might same as like if you put an elite boxer in,
and they like to work behind the earmuff defensive.
Yeah, oh, that's the thing that would probably inhibit Niki fighting in the little gloves. In that he does like that, that very classic. But he's in to just kind of put the big 10-ounce gloves over your head like that, kind of wade through your opponent's head. But I think he's an intelligent boxer. So like I think that would
he's got pro boxing experience at a high level.
Yeah, he does too, and moves his head a lot, which helps. Yeah, and you can see that even in this fight, he was weaving quite comfortably.
So he weaved into an overhand. That's just how it goes.
I thought Sin Samut did a good job of framing Niki with those middle kicks, I would say, coming over the top of his guarded arms and just not letting him come in, but also just keeping him. Niki's quite active on his feet, and the way that he would just keep him right in front of him by whichever way you want to step, and it comes into that Dutch style, the way that he kind of shifts his upper body. A lot of people would go for the legs in that, like if you're trying to keep someone in one place, but it's the way that Niki kind of commits. He's very good at using his torso, and I would say that comes from having a more refined boxing style. Very engaged with how he gets his core through his work and how he repositions without actually moving his feet. If that makes sense, that's what like a lot of that more detailed offensive game is he can really change his position and where his shots land just by how he kind of shifts his upper body. I thought the way that just kind of smacking those hard middle kicks into the arms and just keeping Niki right in front of him was a big part of what opened up to get that overhand landed. Just keep him in one place, disrupt him. And then there's a couple like some interesting little clinch exchanges where I thought Sinsamut almost just set out to frustrate Niki because he dumped Niki a couple of times, but they weren't real clean kind of trips. It was like he would just bear his weight down over the top of Niki.
Physicaled him down.
Yeah, and that's what you could kind of see. Of course, Niki's not. You know, I think when you put a high-level Dutch stylist in a Muay Thai fight, the problem is not elbows. You know, you can deal with, I mean, it's potentially a problem, but it's not the biggest problem. It's the clinch. Yeah. People say, how's he going to deal with elbows? Probably okay. If you can see punches, you can see an elbow, right? You don't want to get hit by it. You put something in the way. But it's once they clinch up. Sinsamut didn't, like we said, he didn't set out to expose that as a weakness. Like he wasn't really pushing forward to play a bullying knee game, but he would just bear his weight down, just arch over the top, sit over Niki and just send him falling onto his back. Yeah. Just kind of, I guess, just trying to frustrate him there or just show some strength.
Probably trying to maybe keep him in the middle range as well instead of coming in close to throw body shots.
Yeah, true. Just give him a reason not to kind of be in there. But then comes second round, just hit a perler of an overhand right. And like we said, he'd been for it a few times.
Yeah, he was fighting for it.
And he wasn't. It's interesting to me that he was not being secretive
Nah.
You know, against a guy who boxes like Niki does, you know, you might think he'd be like, I'm going to sit back here and kick. But he just belted it over him.
Man, just
and
sent
Niki moves the first few times, but I guess just gave him enough little frustrating looks
Yeah.
to kind of be like, all right, I'm just going to send it.
Yeah,
now.
he's going to send it down. But yeah, Nicky Austin, got knocked out.
I was impressed.
Couldn't beat the count, really. Elias waved it off, just goes, that's enough.
And yeah, he not quite
Nah,
there.
it wasn't.
It was a good stoppage.
Who
Who do you want to see Sinsamut fight next? Because there's no Muay Thai champion in that one.
No. Yeah, it's not a really active division.
No, but it looks to be coming together a bit now.
Yeah. I'm not too sure. Who would go? It's like, well, it'd be more so is people going up in that division.
I have an idea.
Yeah, it is.
Liam Nolan.
I was thinking that. Yeah.
And I have another idea.
Yeah.
George Mann.
Yeah. He's already been in one, so like, time to
Send him back to that heavyweight, I think.
Yeah.
He's done enough there in his place.
Yeah.
He's gone and won the world title since he's like showing him one championship.
Yeah.
I want to see Sinsamut versus George Mann.
Oh, that's it. George Mann first got to get past the weapon. Coming up soon. We'll talk about that fight when it gets closer.
Actually, either of the winner of that fight.
Whenever that gets Simpson.
I just know George already has a contract or has previous one experience, but I think the winner of that fight is the best person to fight.
Hey,
but like once you get those two guys, Sinsamut and Liam Nolan is a very good mix.
Fight, yeah.
Just a good mix.
It kind of just shows like how good Liam Nolan is because he beat Yusuf recently as well.
Yeah.
So he's well on top of his game.
Yeah, I like what's going on around that weight. It's like one has that's a division that based on what's going on all over the world, that's worth building up now. And I mean, like, I don't have to tell them that.
I know you listen.
They know what they've got with there was method behind putting Sinsamut in that big show.
Of course. So, yeah, need some eyes on him against a big name.
Interesting as well, Sinsamut, I believe, fights out of Venom and he's managed by Mehdi Zatout.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I saw him going to that. Yeah, it's awesome. It seems like it's working well for him. So the main event for this part one card was Chingiz versus Sidichai.
Mad fight. I really enjoyed this.
Man, like Chingiz, like really just on fire.
He's wicked. This was a rematch. Sidichai beat Chingiz a few years ago in China. This was close, I thought.
It's you could just see off the bat, it's just Chingiz style, just like I'm just gonna explode.
Yeah,
trying to catch. Like it was almost at the first, like you Sidichai can sort of touch gloves and Chingiz goes, "Fuck
no,
you."
He wasn't interested.
Just teeps the fuck out, and then Sidichai goes, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
A lot of great body work from Chingiz because, like, you like the head kick.
Yeah.
But just absolutely punishing the body and then bringing it back up top.
Well, Chingiz just has this like incredible dexterity. Like he'll hit the body and just roll a head kick over the top. Some great knee work.
Yeah.
As well coming. Yeah, the body work in general, everything that went out the body was wicked.
There was a couple of times where like he was doing like T-shot kick, but then he'll catch return and just like just blast straight to the body. Then you could see it visibly, or even just audibly, just the thud of that shot. You get a killer shot.
I liked that a lot.
It was working well. He even actually landed, like if you want to learn how to land a spinning back fist, like Chingiz probably did the best example I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
About 3 of them.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Like spinning back kick as well.
Yeah.
Straight into Sidichai's midsection. Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was a pretty good fight. Yeah.
High pace fight.
Oh. So what do you reckon? Because like in that one, retrospect, that buys him a title. Go against the Tiger City Bond.
Did he win?
Super Bond.
Did he win $1 million?
Was
there $1 million? I
feel like this is actually a tournament as well.
Yeah, he wins the. I see where they got different like looking belts now. So
he's the Grand Prix tour.
The Grand Prix Championship now, and then they did a new title belt on this. They changed the one.
Oh, did they?
Belt, yeah, but now they that big belt that Petrosian won for winning the tournament.
Yeah.
And Mighty Mouse won. Those big silver ones. The title belt is now the same belt in gold.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's like if you win a tournament, you get the silver one. And
isn't that like a boxing thing? You get the diamond belt. And
just give him a trophy. But anyway.
And give him his money. Like, no.
Just give him the money. Yeah.
Just come out with a suitcase full of cash and go, this is your prize. You go, yes.
But that's what I was thinking. Like, I swear I remember this being advertised as $1 million tournament. And I know the first one was like the $1 million. But then like as we got closer to the final, I just saw like a lot less talk of $1 million in the messaging around it.
It's like,
and it's like
we've decided to give out 50,000 grand bonuses to fighter nighters.
they're throwing cash around though, right? Didn't they do like 7 bonus winners in this fight?
Yeah, this ridiculous.
Yeah,
but like hey, if you got the cash to throw around, then
I like it.
this is going to the proper fighters.
But I'd have to imagine that with this also comes the chance that makes you the number 1 contender, right?
Think so?
I mean, like, I can't see who else it would be.
Yeah, cool. Like, I'm definitely down for Superman versus Jazz.
Massively. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, we'll just quickly go through this. How was this fight? Capitan versus Hiroki.
Most impressive person in the ring was Elias Dolopsis.
He had his hands full.
Massive. But like I was talking to anyone who will listen during the show, and I was really, really enjoying watching Elias referee. Like I just
how he just addressed everything.
Yeah, but he's just so good. Like I'm not just saying that because we know him.
One question on that is like, so what does the actual yellow card mean?
I think the yellow card in this one is like, you remember the Pride yellow card?
Yes.
Like it's 10% of
Off
your
your
purse.
purse.
I'm pretty sure it's because it's like yellow,
Yeah.
and then if you have to warn again, you take a point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just like
It's not even like disqualification kind of like. Well, I guess you have to be a lot of.
and then beyond that, it's a red card.
Okay.
If you get a red card, you're just donezo.
Okay. Yeah. Man, like Capitan, like it was just like Hiroki. Just like the volume of this fight.
He's
This
so
place.
jacked.
Suspiciously jacked. Especially compared to Capitan from there. But like it's just the output of this fight from the get-go, from the first round to the 5th was just insane.
What I've noticed about, actually, he has one thing I was going to say about Chingiz as well. And look, they don't fight similarly, but one thing that I thought was similar is I think the reason that Akimoto can fight with such a high volume is that like there is no setup required on so many of the things that he does. Like I was watching his left kick a lot, like his lead kick, and the way that he can just land that without switching or anything like that, like he just pushes it out in front, and that's what I think allows. It's a couple of things, like the volume can be so high because there's no really defined setup. It can just, he has a number of techniques that when done in like a traditional way require that 1 second to set up, that disrupt, like you have to disengage to set them up. He just throws from wherever, but also the way that he seems to be able to attack from just wherever he lands, like quite diverse and somewhat ambidextrous, I suppose, in that throw, drop down, continue to attack. And that's like that, where that drowning kind of volume comes from, because when your opponent's waiting for you to, you go, okay, he got a good one there, and now he's going to land and reset himself a little bit. You just, there's more.
It's like and like with that style he's doing as well, he was absolutely like flattening Capitan against the cage as well. Just like just didn't have any time to get out, and really didn't have an option except for clinching.
Yeah, and then piecing his leg too.
Yeah,
I thought Capitan was going to go down from the low kicks.
But
Capitan was having a good crack too. Like this was a very good back and forth fight, but Akimoto was just doing he was landing the techniques that was negating Capitan's ability to come back, like those low kicks. Landed some cracker right hands as well.
Yep. Both got a chin on them.
Yeah, wicked chins from the pair of them. And then like it's always tricky in kickboxing is that like I think Capitan has adopted the kickboxing rule set very well.
Yep.
But you get that habitual, like what I noticed was a big difference between the two of them was the inside boxing that existed for Akimoto, in that he will frame with his forearms and kind of push to make space. And because you watch, like, I think there's always a lot of confusion in these kickboxing fights as to like, what constitutes a clinch and what's that. I'm getting my head around it much better. Like I think you have to actually pay a little bit of attention in that. Like watch the way that they will clinch. It's like in boxing. There is clinching.
Yes.
It's just you have to know how to clinch for the rules. And it's the way that Akimoto was always positioning like his forearms to make space, attack, and then you can come back in. It's not actually about it's a lot like elite inside boxing. Like you always see in boxing now, guys just grab a hold of each other and get separated.
Yeah.
But if you watch examples of high level inside exchanges, they can actually be making contact and it's consistent space making maneuvers, attack, and you can come back in like that. That's what I thought was just a difference, in that when there would be like a drawn out inside exchange, Capitan would grab, whereas Akimoto was trying to. That's why I saw a lot of people, but Akimoto was attacking too, and it's like, but that's the ref's job to look and be like,
yes,
are they clinching or are they boxing on the inside?
I guess it's like if you're clasping your hands, then it's like, oh, we've got a break. But if you're like, if you're marking on the inside with your gloves and your head a bit and continue a bit of like, action, then they'll let it go.
And it's like when you're clinching, like it's your job to get out. So if you come in and you attack and you do quite well, but then you grip and then just shut the fight down, you're not going to be given as much credit in the scoring, that you're kind of negating your own scores because you couldn't do it without. Yeah, it's interesting, and it does make, when both sides are well across it makes for a really interesting flow of the fight. But I think that is it's the trouble when you watch kickboxing, that can be so stacked with Muay Thai converts, in that's the problem, is like it's most elite Muay Thai fighters have the tools to create a kickboxing game without too much trouble. There's numerous examples, but it is that inside. It's a whole range that doesn't exist in a Muay Thai fight, because if you're that close, the safe measure is to start engaging into clinch and landing these. The same thing as well, you can repeatedly knee and you can throw elbows. It changes, whereas like when you're in a kickboxing fight, you have to be able to play that in close, hands and feet striking game.
Yeah.
So that's always interesting to me, and because there's always complaints, but I think a lot of time as Muay Thai guys, we don't understand what's legal and what the aim is in there, and it's different. It's just a different aesthetic to get your head around.
That's it. Just gotta train the rules.
Yeah.
To play. All right. So
great fight though.
Yeah. So let me see on that one. All right. So the main event for the second part though, big fight. Yeah, Nong-o versus Felipe Lobo. It's a Fisher's Gym.
Nong-o's so good.
Yeah, I can't see really anyone dethroning him at this point.
I don't even know who's left.
I think he's well and truly kind of cleared out the division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll find him fights, but I don't know who, because I know Lobo's been in one championship a few times, but I kind of almost feel at this point that they're having to look externally, unless they bring in another high-end Thai from the stadiums, but that never really seems to be there.
They're not like the Thai versus Thai.
Yeah. They've done it a little bit, but I don't know if they'd be looking for a top flight Thai of this era to go and fight Nong-o. I don't know if that would be what they wanted.
I don't. It's not really seems like the philosophy of one.
Yeah.
But like Nong-o just absolutely lights out Lobo with the uppercut.
Crazy and beautiful. Like I love the way that I went back and watched this a couple of times, and you watch, and Lobo was just struggling to find his feet.
Yeah.
He was struggling to commit.
He was just scrambling a lot,
as you will against a computer. But he actually pops Nong-o with a jab at one point and kind of snaps him back, and Nong-o's like,
okay, come on.
Cool. Because then just almost, I suppose instinctively, there was 3 jabs kind of in almost succession. The first one gets Nong-o, and the second one, Nong-o kind of just waits for it and closes his hands over the top. And it's that Felipe feels like maybe he's starting to find his entry point. So it's like, okay, I'm getting Nong-o this, and sits on it a little bit more, and just classic slip uppercut. Wicked.
It's just beautiful to watch him fight. And it's just like, you watch every fight, and it's always a different set of tools.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, finishing fights or winning fights with. It's never like I just got this one set of techniques to do, but it's always something different.
Yeah, he's got a big toolbox.
Do whatever you
really
want.
not taking any damage.
Fucking jealous.
Yeah.
But also like Nong-o just being absolutely dominant. There was like against controversy or people trying to read into situations of Chatri.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know. A few people asked me this. I don't know why people ask me this. Like, I might have any idea. Why was Charshi angry? He looked angry. I don't know why.
Yeah, like I said, he's just got a constantly like grumpy cat face on him.
Well, this night he did. He usually looks all like, I don't know, calm and I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's just very like monotone.
Got a bit of a character to him, yeah. But he looked out because he also didn't put the belt around Nong-o's waist, right? He just dropped it over his shoulder.
Here you go, cunt.
Like, remember when Anderson Silva fought them in Muay in Abu Dhabi? Dana White just gave the belt. Didn't put it on him properly. It was like that. Like, he just slapped it over his shoulder.
Says a lot, doesn't it? Does.
But what's your problem? You got an issue with that? One of the best KOs I've ever seen in my life. What do you want?
On other podcasts I've heard that like supposedly what is circling around, and this is not substantiated whatsoever, but like you're saying like he fought too technical.
I heard that too.
Yeah. Which is
I heard that a bit.
Weird?
But
how?
I heard that from a couple of people that I'd be like, I don't think you've ever spoken to Charshi in your life.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But that was what was going around, like, oh, he fought too technical and didn't. But this is what I don't understand. Is like if you're running the show at one championship, you make a Muay Thai league, you fill it all with elite level stadium ties, and then you get upset about how they like. Why don't you just hire a bunch of random pub brawlers then? Yeah,
exactly right.
Like you're gonna hire one of the highest IQ fighters ever and be like, can you be a little bit messier?
It's like, you know what I like? I just want that Zambo, those Zambo fights.
Yeah, like if that's what you want, the fighters to do that are around. You can go and find them. But they put on this big thing about the world's best Muay Thai league, and also Nong-o did not get touched and put on a ridiculous that will be when we talk about later in the year the knockout of the year. That'll be on my short list, 150%. I cannot if you're giving out $50,000 bonuses and you're not going to give one to Nong-o for that.
What are we doing here?
What the fuck's the bonus for? So I don't know if that's true that he was upset about. Man, Charshi, you did a good job making an elite Muay Thai league.
Yeah.
What do you want? Congratulations.
I got it here. Now I need to water it down.
I've built this incredible league of Muay Thai talent. Now I just need to make it a bit worse. I don't know what you want.
It's bizarre.
But I don't know. I assume there's something a little bit more to that. Something
of course
personal because as a promoter, how could you want anything different?
But the thing is, like, we'll probably never know. So we'll just have to make our own conspiracy.
Justice for Nong-o.
Justice, that's right. All right, so just a couple more on here. So I didn't really get to see a lot on the last one. It's way past my bedtime and I just catch up to watch it.
Anyway.
So Super One.
That was sick.
Defended his title against Murat.
See, if this had been on one of the free shows, there would have been nothing compelling me to buy.
True.
The main card.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally understand that.
Yeah.
But how did this fight go down?
It was wicked.
Yeah. Was it like a total masterclass, or was it very like competitive bout?
It was competitive. Like this was an interesting one in that like the last time these two fought, Murat actually knocked Superbon out.
True.
But this time Superbon kind of just classed him.
Yeah.
It was like a lot of this fight was just Superbon teeping Murat all over the cage.
Just not letting him in.
Yeah, that teep is unbelievable. Superbon, I've said this before, I'm pretty sure. He's built really strangely.
Yes.
His hips are really high up.
It's like you just gotta see all the head kick knockouts he's got.
Yeah, he's built to teep an eye kick. Like literally that is his like physical structure.
Yeah.
Really long torso and hips like disproportionately high up on his body. And that's like why that teep comes through so beautifully. Murat just struggled to get that rhythm, and he was never gonna come in and play like a forearm to forearm kind of kickboxing style game.
Of course not.
Superbon, too clean,
too classy as always. He's going, like again, I'm really down for him versus Chingers. It's going to be fucking awesome.
That's the fight.
Yeah, and how it looks is interesting as well.
And like, yeah,
because like Chingers loves a kicking range.
I think this is probably the best end result, because I don't think, if we came out of this with like Superbon and Sidachai, it's like they've done it before. They've even done it before in one.
I don't think it would look much different than previous outings.
Look, nothing really to say it would, but I guess you never know.
Yeah, it's fair.
Murat and Chingers would also have been a rematch.
True. Yeah. Of course. All right. So also on this card, John Wayne Powers on that card. Not much to say about it, but just glad that John Wayne Parr now is like, he left the gloves in the ring. Very emotional build up from that. And he's had a stellar career from that one. And now it's like, he's retired. And I think it's the right time. It's the right time to do it.
Oh, like, yes.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit earlier. I was to say that. But
I mean, it's whatever. It's no one's place to tell anyone when they should stop fighting.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I think this was one of those ones, like, when they did Wayne versus Nick, I was like, why? Yeah. Like, it was just...
Why you do your boy like that?
Yeah. And then this one I felt like was a bit more of like a novelty. No, novelties are not really what I mean, but like a legends, a veterans kind of fight. Like, which is... I, like, when it seemed apparent that Wayne Parr was going to continue fighting... I was a bit like, just get him someone, even like if maybe there's a rematch or something from his era. Yeah, like another old boy.
Like I think the boys on the Muay Thai are Skarbowski.
Yeah.
Like he would have fucking jumped in.
Do it at 80 kilos as well. Like, just do something that's just genuinely just fun for the sake of fun. Which I guess this kind of was like that, but at the same time it wasn't really for like a... one for the Muay Thai guys.
Not really.
Like the people that followed Wayne's career. But like I'm glad. I think it went pretty well. The last round was really like a fun kind of finish. Like, you'd be like, oh, he's gonna throw that. He was very like, he was always a hard fighter.
Yeah.
And it was hard not to be. Again, it was a little bit. Again, we've been through his retirement 4 times now, so maybe we're running out of feelings for it. But I think like it's better to see him get the chance to have a retirement fight on like a show of that stature.
Well, like he got all the media coverage for that one, all the like the tributes and that coming through. Like, it's nice.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what we all really want to see, is just him be able to just get the bag and get out.
John Wayne right into the sunset.
Yeah, it's cool, and there's a lot. He's got a very successful gym. His place in Australian Muay Thai is unshakable.
Yeah,
he's just
one of the best to ever do it.
Best ever, and really did inspire a whole generation as one of the first Australians to go over and live the dream and do the Thailand thing. So regardless, again, it's no one's place to say when's the right time for someone to retire. He wanted one more. He had every right to go after it, and really like just even be able to get in and have a go like that at 45. Inspirational again.
Yeah, it's
great. So
amazing.
Yeah,
awesome. All right, so that'll do it. Fuck that Rod Tang fight. Like, we knew what was going to go on.
I was so surprised.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not going to talk about it. I just can't waste energy on that one. It's like,
did you watch it?
I didn't care to watch it, to be honest. So, yeah.
I watched it.
Yeah. It's like, whoops, over mic. Yeah, did it go down as imagined? It's like,
I mean, like, Rod Tang had a good go in the first round, just sort of chased DJ down. And honestly, DJ, like, didn't sort of run away or anything. Like, he actually had to. Like, he was conservative, but he played the game of Rod Tang, and he was trying to hit him.
Yeah.
Like, threw up some left kicks. And it's one of those fights where you could see, like, the power difference between the two of them. Like, when Rod Tang would kick DJ, and because DJ was kicking back, he was kind of throwing that high left kick up over Rod Tang's arm. Just the difference was so visually clear when each would land, but just DJ's just ring smart enough to just not get knocked out. And then just the second round started, and Rod Tang just was retreating backwards, around, which he doesn't do, and then it's just second DJ got a hold of him. It was just,
I'm gonna take you down.
There was nothing to it. Yeah, and Rod Tang didn't tap.
Good on him. That's the way to do it. Just go to sleep. Excellent.
A weird fight.
Weird.
That had no point whatsoever.
And now Jonathan Haggie's calling out Mighty Mouse
for the same.
Think so.
Thing. Are we doing it for the?
Yeah. What else? I guess. But
we're doing one round. Well, because I know Haggie's been about going to MMA in one.
Well, I think from what I heard, he actually started off in MMA.
Really?
Like, really early on. And then transitioned.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. From what I heard. Anyway, I heard a fair few people say that, but it might be wrong.
Okay, I say don't do a mixed rules fight ever again. I mean, no, actually, don't do it ever again.
I don't see the point of them. Yeah. It doesn't... it doesn't interest me. And
Like, I get it. It's like stupid enough to just make people be like, what's this?
what's this? Who knows? Oh well, that's how it goes. Hey mate, hey, you want me to open your yogurt for you? There you go. All right, bye. All right, we finish up. So we're just gonna do questions now.
Yes.
So got a couple questions. Just quick. Did you want to do that one at all, or?
I don't really have an answer.
Yeah,
I'll do it
fine.
next week.
That's fair enough. Cool. All right, so
There's a question about my love life.
all right, so we'll do 2 questions today that were sent in, and like as we talked about before, please send us in questions or send us in topics that you want us to talk about from there. More than happy to tackle them as best we can. If we don't get through your questions today, we'll hold on to them and try and answer them later on, like in later episodes as well.
Sometimes I get sent one that I need to like think on a bit too much.
True.
So if I don't do it straight away, I just kept it.
Yeah, that's
I kept it to answer it properly.
No worry, so if you ever send questions, we keep them, and we read them. So yeah, we're very appreciative of it. So we got one in from the man himself, Pinky Muaythai, sent in the question. So he says, your thoughts on running Muay Thai similar to boxing as far as pro-am goes? Should records restart?
That is an interesting question. I feel like maybe we touched on this before.
It's always
But
good to
worth
rehash
discussing.
it. And we want to change our opinions on it as the episodes go on as well.
If you take this from the top as just like a yes, no, should we reset guys' records when they go pro? What would you say? And then we can unpack it a little bit further.
Yeah. So you say, as a reach from there. So when they go pro, what he's saying is like we should just like basically say, yes, we start at 0 again.
Yeah.
I'm going all for it
I'm all for it too.
as well. It's because the amateurs from there, it's like you could have from juniors all the way up, George Mayer style, or they've taken other things like boxing or MMA. It's like amateurs is like, it's like training ground kind of stuff. You just kind of develop your thing. And then when you go from pros, you just go, 0. I agree with that.
Yeah. See, I think that's the way it should be. But I think the problem we have in Australia is like lack of standardization. So
Yes.
it's easier to make a match when you just lay out how many times they've been into the ring altogether, because you'll start to see some fight. See, my thing with this is I sometimes follow on shows and they explicitly ask, what's your professional record? And I will submit.
Just the professional.
Yeah, whatever my pro. If they just ask for my record, I put everything.
Yeah, go amateur, pro.
Yeah, just as one cumulative. Here's all my fights, because I'm conscious of not being disingenuous. So like if a show just says, what's your record? And I say honestly, I've actually overtake amateur fights in pro fights now. If I just say my pro fights and then I don't want to be in this, because a lot of the time they'll say, what's your record? I might write my pro record, and then there'll be, a lot of the shows give you that questionnaire now, which is always good. And they'll say how many fights you've had, and then there'll be a question for what about your amateur experience as well.
Yeah.
In that case, I'll answer pro for record if not explicitly asked for, and then I'll write my amateur. If the question is just how many fights have you had, I put everything, because I'm not trying to be. I want to be completely transparent about the number of fights, but also like for the most part now, like I want to ask you to fight, like they know.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone's gonna be like, hey, you had those 20 secret. Like I've been fighting just in Australia.
It's like it's well documented.
Yeah. If I started coming through saying I've had 12 fights or something, people would be like, I don't think that's true. But anyway, I think it would be a really good idea, and it would, like, we all in every state have the same idea of what constitutes a pro fight, I think. So like you could have someone saying, okay, I've only had 4 pro fights, and you can look back in their record and be like, a lot of your amateur fights are actually in a pro format. You know what I mean? So it's like every state kind of having a different idea, because you could look at like Queensland's the best example. A lot of people just start fighting with no pads or anything on commercial shows. Should we say all their fights are pro because they're in a pro format, even if they weren't maybe at a pro level? That's where it gets difficult, because then you'll have Queenslanders going to other states with like 30 fights on their record.
Yeah.
With someone with the same amount of actual in-ring experience having 5 to 10. But then like it becomes difficult, because if you've got someone from New South Wales just putting in every single fight they've had, some of these would have had shin guards and headgear on and not really be worth contributing to the record.
And also there'd be a fair few people that had Thailand fights.
Thailand fights are a tricky one too.
Yeah, because like, almost the same as Queensland, but there's definitely like fucking like experience levels or levels within that as also.
Yeah, and like there's a problem. I talk to some of my friends in the States, and they say there's been a big issue with their kind of athletic commissions in that if they or their sports board, whatever they call it, their equivalent of our CSA, where someone goes to Thailand, they get their experience, they have a fight, they come back, and then they'll be training for a fight, and they'll get the note from the sports board to say, "Oh, we understand that you went to Thailand and had this fight. It was pro by our understanding, so you're now a fight pro," and that's why there's a less. In the past, could be different, and obviously different states will be different, but that's why there's actually been an apprehension for some younger American fighters to go and do the Thailand thing and get that experience.
Because automatically puts them in that next
because they
category.
come back to the States and now they're considered pro when they haven't fought at a pro level, just in a professional format.
Those Bungalow Stadium fights don't match
And
up.
it's good experience, but it is amateur experience, you know what I mean? So, and then as we've discussed with some of our friends in America also, going pro is a very strategic decision there because it can greatly limit your opportunity to fight, because a lot of the experience there is in that tournament kind of amateur format that you can't do once you go pro. So if you went to Thailand for a few months and had a couple of fights, got some good experience, and then went back to the States, you'd have to fight pro far before you're ready, and maybe it can be a big sacrifice to your career.
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing with the amateur and pro thing, so I think the biggest inhibitor is lack of standardization. So what are we calling pro? Like WA is very defined.
Yeah.
And you have X amount of fights in pads, and then you can go on to pros, and we're pretty defined here in New South Wales as well, but other states. Victoria now.
Yeah.
Because they used to do the kind of only issue there was like everything was kind of pro. So people would have their first fight and it'll be pro. Whereas now they've got the Muaythai Victoria thing. And so that will be clearly defined. They'll probably actually be the best state for that.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's like the model that's getting set up there is really good.
Yeah. Because then I also think the thing we have is like now I think we're coming to a point in New South Wales where it's kind of like you just use the development day stuff to get your feet wet and then you go pro. But going pro is not the way it is in boxing where you've made this big decision to step up. It's just kind of it's a legislative thing.
Yes.
It's not like you guys can. I mean, like we're mostly getting now if it's a pro. There's a standardization of a pro fight's 3-minute rounds and stuff like that. Yeah, I know some states will technically register guys as pro just for the sake of getting them out of the pads.
Yeah.
But it'll be. Actually, we're seeing less of that now.
It's just a lot more opportunity to do that, a lot more amateur stuff
Yeah.
and padded stuff. So, yeah.
But here, like, it's not, we've adopted it well. Because what I'm also starting to see, and it could just be the last few shows, I think that amateur, in New South Wales, that amateur layer between development day and pro is kind of vanishing.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
people
kinda
are doing the dev day thing to get ready, and then they'd rather just take the pads off and
Yeah, just
go
do a
straight
few
to
and then.
pro.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know a couple of our guys that have been doing, like, they've been actually struggling to get amateur fights. Seems like dev days are more available,
Yeah, it seems like that.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because we do just have this weird thing in New South Wales where you have to wear just headgear when you're an amateur. So if you're taking the shin guards off, you might as well take it all off. Find 10-ounce gloves and a proper hand wrap.
Well, like I said, it's like that. It's just those layer things, isn't it? Like you go from all pads to basically almost none.
So you might as well, what's the point of almost none?
Yeah.
Like you're not getting any. Like using the least,
Should be like a little bit more stripping
useful
off stuff.
Yeah, just use like elbow pads and shin guards, like IFMA shin guards, and make that your. I don't know, it's not. But yeah, I'm kind of starting to see people using like amateur fighting becoming more the dev day side of it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing quicker into the pros because guys used to stay amateur way too long in New South Wales.
Yes.
I used to get people like no one needs to have 20 amateur fights,
Yeah, that's
15
right.
amateur fights.
It's getting there. It's like, yeah, it's definitely, you can see that change is happening now. And it's,
Yeah.
it's good. It's looking
It
great.
is good. But then it also raises the question like, you know, are we really going to have a big amateur portion of your record and a big pro portion? Are we going to start more so just shuffling people into what we call pro, but it's not like
B-grade.
pro in the sense, yeah, where they kind of establish a bit of a B class.
Yeah.
Which then raises the question as well as what do you do with records then, you know?
Yeah. Is it a pro record?
But to keep it kind of simple, I do think in an ideal world where all the development systems are where they should be, you'd have. So you say an amateur record and a pro record. I say like just when you're amateur, don't even really be compiling. Who cares? Go do your tournaments and this and that. Do whatever you can do over a couple of years, and then go pro, and that's where your record kind of starts. Like your amateur portion is just like put less emphasis on what the record is, because then you got people protecting their 3-0 records, and like you're missing the point.
And I guess it's like a lot of trainers just also just being transparent with, like, you know, when they're saying, it goes, oh, this guy's got a fair bit of experience going into his pro records. Like, you know, so he's not like a fresh like guy. And then if you go into pro anyway, you've had experience.
But that's also interesting, like, because when you look at boxing, a 0-0 fighting a 0-0, that's just always considered the same. Like, because that's what you see is like with these guys, they've had 150 amateur fights or Olympic amateur boxing careers or whatever. Like once you hit that reset, it's like if you chose not to get a bunch of amateur experience, that's your personal problem. We're both 0-0, which is another layer to it as well, right? Because we're always just trying to match these guys fairly. So someone having dozens and dozens of amateur fights versus someone who's really just starting out is an important consideration.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But yeah, I do think if the world was perfect, we would be getting our amateur experience and then resetting when we come to the pros.
Yeah, I think so as well. So talking about boxing, that segues into our next question, doesn't it?
It does. We're going to go to Andrew's question.
Cool. I don't have it on me, so
yeah. Was this thoughts on Muay Thai guys having a box? Oh, so we'll go. I won't ask the question as it was asked to me because I'll apply the context. Andrew did his April Fool's joke the other day, and announced that he was going to be promoting a boxing show. Well, what I said to the way that he wrote it out was pretty convincing. Until you really read the details of the post.
That's it. It's like little hints in there.
But basically, he positioned that he was going to do a boxing show, and he has had some guys boxing recently.
Yeah,
Shasta Palanchok.
Yeah.
And that he was a little bit, you know, boxing is cool, but it's not really run well as a business. Let's do boxing the way that we do Muay Thai and just let the guys jump in and have a go. But the question was thoughts on Muay Thai guys having a box. Based on the response, I might actually do it. So I think there's two ways to take this question. Are you asking Muay Thai guys having a box as in the fighters jumping in, or Muay Thai guys having a box the way that he was suggesting to start as a promoter dipping his toes into boxing? So I suppose we can do both. I believe the question was about the fighters. So thoughts on Muay Thai guys having a box? Because this is an interesting one for yourself, because I know you as a trainer have always liked when guys are coming up, especially at that amateur entry-level pro part of their career, if there's no Muay Thai fights, just sending them into some boxing as well.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on Muay Thai guys having a box?
I think it's definitely fine. Like, it's like, why not? I guess like it also depends on people's styles as well. Like, you know, if like, I like to put them in if like they're more so postponed to being like, you know, capable boxers. But sometimes you can, especially in amateur level, you go like your hands suck. Fuck, you just practice doing a bit of boxing from there. But like, you know, same thing again. Then I don't like to try and force a fit on people either. Yeah. But like, hey, look, especially in the amateurs, but even some of the pros as well, if they're capable of using their hands, so like, fuck, why not? And then like, be honest.
Better.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like after like, you know, doing Luke's one and that one, and this like, no disrespect, but like, yeah, the boxing, man, Jesus Christ, they pay a lot better.
And like, again, no disrespect intended. It's not like, so sometimes you see like boxing fights and it's pretty obviously a squash match, right? So there'll be like sometimes the specific ask is for a Muay Thai guy.
I know.
Like they'll be like, I've got this hot shot 5-0 up and comer with a big amateur career. I need a fight for him this Friday. Any Muay Thai guys want to do it for $5,000 and they'll all do it. But Luke got paid. Luke got paid okay for that fight.
Yeah.
But also, he didn't fight anyone good.
Yeah, no. It wasn't like it's like an up-and-coming guy. Like, it's just two dudes like making their pro debuts in boxing.
It was a recreational
and they still got paid
boxer.
well.
And there was still more money than would be around for Luke in a Muay Thai fight. So there's just more money exists even for...
It's just interesting as well.
Sort of meaningless.
Like, I know. It's like, we looked at the show, like, you know, just when we talked about the show the other time, it's just, when I got there, like, the feel, I felt, it didn't feel good. Auctions are shit. I hate auctions.
Don't get me started.
Bringing in people to do fucking skits before you know, it's like halftime shows almost. That's what it was.
That was weird.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but you told me.
And you know what's weird as well? Like, you know, without like the Run Muay going in the background, from there, it's just so quiet.
Well, this is the thing that also, I mean, like, probably could open a can of worms with this. It's like you go to these shows in boxing, like, we're going to pay you this much. Like, that's all right. Because, you know, I don't have to get kicked or anything. And then you go there and you're like, where does this money come from?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was trying to get at. I was going like, yeah, there's like it wasn't like bleachers full of people.
Yeah.
From that one, it actually felt pretty empty because it was a pretty big area. But I don't know where the money's coming from. Who's throwing money at this thing?
The auction.
Who sponsored this one? Blue Haven Pool sponsored this fight. Blue Haven Pool's got a lot of money to spend.
They're good on them for like, obviously it's a good sponsorship infrastructure.
Yeah.
Not to be criticised because it means like, anything that results in being able to give the fighters good purses is great. But yeah, there's a lot about boxing that doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's good experience. Like, especially to me, I think there's different mentalities you can take to this in the Muay Thai guys jumping in and having a box. Personally, I believe and I'm not a trainer, but as an amateur, I think the most beneficial thing you can do is fight Muay Thai when you're trying to learn Muay Thai. Like you said, if there is no fights available, which you will get periods of time at any stage in your career, I think there is benefit to getting out of your comfort zone a little bit and really refining one area of your skills. And you don't know, like you'll find some new stuff. Yeah.
It's like it's one of those things as well, especially amateur boxing. I don't really like amateur boxing.
I don't like it either.
Yeah, it's like, you know, just like how it's scored and
the
things
scoring
like that.
to me is that's the other thing I was going to kind of touch on, is that it's good experience to just jump in and have a go, get comfortable throwing your hands, take some time to really develop another element of your game. But then if you want to, as competitors, we never want to be doing anything for any reason other than to win. And I think especially amateur boxing, like you really have to learn the science of scoring amateur boxing. And the more time you put into doing that, the more you're kind of starting to develop skills that not necessarily detract from Muay Thai, but are not transferable back.
Yeah, it's you can't dip your feet in both pools.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
But then as it's like we say as an amateur, who cares if you jump in and just
if you just get used
have
to
a go,
letting go your hands a bit.
Get used to, maybe someone's apprehensive to get their hands going. You want to just get them comfortable. Yeah. Sitting down, their shots a little bit better. I think that can be perfectly.
But especially as a coach like I am, I hate fucking losing.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's like, I just know it's like, oh, we're just probably going to
But you also don't want, like, you want to put someone in like a kind of a low pressure situation, like just go and practice this, but it's difficult to have someone in there like, okay, I don't really want you to put too much time into refining this because it's kind of just redundant info. But then also you don't want someone training up for a fight kind of coming like, I don't really care what happens. Yeah. Which they probably won't. Like, I think you just got to be sure on your approach. Like, okay, we're here to knock a dude out. Like, just, you know, practice that. And don't worry too much about it. Because, like, I always see this as well, like guys who jump over to boxing to challenge themselves and they end up kind of stuck between two ways of thinking. Like, they're standing completely differently and they're trying to move in a way that takes more than a couple of fights to get in the swing of, and also you're not going to bring back with you. Yeah. So, I think it's like you just got to, it's about the approach. I think it can be beneficial for sure. Yeah. I
like pros.
Yeah,
and like same thing, and it goes back into the fighter again because like now you're talking pros. From that one, if like their style suits, like you got some people that transferred nice, like Ben Mahoney. Like,
Ben Mahoney
awesome.
fought last night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't see the result of how it went. Yeah, awesome. But he's like, you know, for him, like it very transfer. He could do both, and it's like his styles carry over to like how he approaches both. It suits him very well. Because
then I also think like Benny Mahoney got slept on a little bit when he started boxing because he had no amateur boxing career. And I know there was this like a bit of, and it was like we talk about, I don't think there was Muay Thai fights available for him. He got offered some cash to jump in and box at an entry professional level and kind of turn some heads. Like he had some good KOs and did it a couple of times in succession, and then eventually decided, I actually might just stay over on this side because, you know, you're stuck in. Like if there's something disheartening about like if you're a Muay Thai fighter, like of Benny's experience, he had 40 fights or something, has gone overseas, fought Yog Kompon, fought at a very high, you know, WBC Australian champion, and then you get called over to a little boxing show to fight, pretty low stakes fight, and you get paid more than any fight in Muay Thai. It'd be a little bit difficult
True.
once at that 40 fight mark to be like, I'm just going to go back over and, you know,
can't blame him.
take a pay cut for harder fights. And now, like, I think he got slept on a bit because people like he didn't follow the boxing path. But the difference is that also means is he's had hard ass fights his whole career, and it's no secret that boxing likes to kind of coddle their guys' records for. It's just, I don't know what it's going to take for this boxing mentality to die. We don't have to harp on it because it's not a secret and people talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just the way that they build these guys' records, and you like, that's the other weird thing about being in a boxing show is like, I've been to watch, you know, my friends fight boxing and they're up and comers, or, you know, considered to be up and comers. So they just go out and squash some dude who looks like he had no business being there. And then the interviewer will be talking to them and be like, okay, you're fighting for the Australian title in 3 fights time. What's the plan for the next 3? And he's got 3 booked in the next 6 weeks that no one's under any illusions as to what these fights are. They're warm-ups, target practice on the way to bigger fights. And no one really cares about you until you're 25-0.
Yeah.
And it's such, like, you don't see anyone have a challenging fight until they have that kind of record. I don't really get it. And then so when Benny Marnie went over to boxing, I think maybe their community underestimated the value of him being he needed to become a boxer, but he was a fighter. Like, he had that.
He's already barrel worn.
His first fight at 14 was against Chad Collins.
Says a lot.
Yeah, like, been fighting tough dudes his whole life in a hard sport.
Yeah.
Physically hard, I mean, like an abrasive sport, getting kicked and elbowed and stuff.
Yeah.
Then, like, of course, there's a lot of work to be done to refine the skills, but all of the intangibles are already there. I think that was somewhat underestimated, and now he's adapted beautifully. He's one of the best in Australia, and probably at this point looking poised to move overseas pretty soon.
Nice. Good on him. So I guess going back to that question from there, should they have a go? Yeah, definitely. Like, so would you make it like just Muay Thai fighter versus Muay Thai fighters, like that little pool for a bit? Like, you know, it's like it's interesting prospect.
I think as well, like, gotta be realistic as a Muay Thai guy. Like, obviously the demands of the sports are different. We throw punches in our sport, but the boxing's not as refined. But I think, like, a lot of Muay Thai guys have been proven like they can hang with decent level boxers.
Yeah.
Like,
especially in Australia.
Yeah. So, like, I don't, I think the answer is, like, should they have a go? The best answer is if they want.
Yeah.
Do I think they necessarily have to? No. Like, do I think it's something we should all start doing? Not if you don't feel like it.
Nah, definitely not.
But I think as well, we've kind of shown that. Like, I think the Muay Thai fighters are kind of like, this is not like a secret. The most, like, unappreciated combat athletes in Australia. I think it's starting to add a little bit of credibility for the Muay Thai. Like, we are seeing some pretty good results when the guys jump over the fence.
And it could be like same thing as you're talking about the corporate fight. I think it could be good to see people getting new people eyes on these people and they go, oh, he look like he went pretty good in this boxing fight. Let me look at his Muay Thai fights.
Yeah.
Let me see his next Muay Thai to see what he looks when he actually does, like, the sport that he chose to do.
And to stay on Andrew's question through that lens of, like, what if we started promoting it the way we do? Because we see Muay Thai guys with like a high-end Muay Thai guy in Australia will come up with like 10 losses on his record. Because we've been watching them take hard fights and learn lessons on the job. We're not trying to protect them and like, I want him to see how he goes against a counter fighter. Let me go and get a bad counter fighter so we can see how he goes. So we can, it's just like high level guys. And the volume that they fight at, like 5-6 professional fights a year is quite common for Muay Thai guys.
Yeah.
Boxing, you never really see more than 3. And they do the full training camp thing, whereas Muay Thai is a little bit more like just jump in and figure it out on the fly. Would it make boxing more interesting to see it promoted that way? For me, it would.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's something to be said for the model that they operate at, or it wouldn't still be around today because everyone's seen through it for 20, 30 years now.
Yeah.
But it still goes this way. It's a weird business. I'd like to see a little boxing league where you just show up and actually watch guys in evenly matched fights. And like you say, chuck a few Muay Thai guys in.
Yeah.
It's good. Make it a bit of a wild card thing. I think
you don't know what's
going
to happen,
It would be fun to see. Yeah, that kind of attitude applied to boxing. But I guess no one will do it because, going overseas relies on being... There is so much care as to what guys' records
records
are.
looks
You're
like.
not going to send a guy who's 20 wins, 10 losses. Even if he is really good, like he's just not going to get.
Yeah,
he's
it's
gonna
not
be
gonna get a
viewed as a
push.
journey. That record wouldn't make you a journeyman in Muay Thai. Necessarily. Like records don't tell the whole. But we just understand in Muay Thai that a record doesn't necessarily tell the whole story.
Definitely not.
In boxing, it's always just been taken at face value.
Definitely. All right, and I think that'll do it this week. It was a long one. It's pretty good though.
Oh, we'll do one more question.
One more? Yeah,
to
sure.
touch on what we spoke about earlier
Yeah.
was Matt Lucas asks, could David beat Yusuf in a rematch?
I didn't see the fight, so shit.
I should have had you ask the question.
So
Okay, I mean, like, I saw nothing in this fight to say that David is not on the like I said earlier, he's not on the path to.
Going from his previous fight with George Mann and like how he's been looking, just I don't see why not. He's still quite young.
Still young, and obviously Yusuf is maybe on the back end of his career a little bit more.
Yeah.
I definitely think the answer is yes. He could. I think he showed he has the skills and just needs. It was strategic. It was decision making, and that you learn that by doing it. So I say yes, but also I will say I do not think we will see this rematch
Probably not.
because I think Yusuf is on a bit of a retirement tour from Muay Thai.
And there's like this fight, Liam Nolan, tough fights.
Tough fights.
Well, tough
yeah.
fights.
He's moving to MMA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting.
Yusuf and his brother are both going to do MMA.
Well, there you go.
So I think he's just kind of getting his last few Muay Thai fights in, and I don't see him jumping back and forth. I think he'll make the move completely.
Have to.
Yeah.
You can't hang that top level and try and have your feet in both pools.
No, and you're probably already seeing that in that. I think he's probably training MMA most of the time now.
True.
Like I see him on social media wearing his gi and stuff like that. And
Okay.
I don't think there's only so long you can fight hungry, because he's still fighting hungry up and comers, like people who want to knock him off the perch. Liam Nolan, David. So, I think that mentality kind of expires after a while.
Yeah.
When you stop training Muay Thai like an elite Muay Thai fighter and you're training MMA, but just leveraging your existing Muay Thai capability. But could David beat Yusuf in a rematch? I say the fight suggests yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. Nice. That was a good one.
I wouldn't mind seeing Davey fight Liam Nolan.
That'll be a good fight as well. But it seems like Liam Nolan might have a bit on his plate in a couple of different fights coming, maybe in one, maybe in England itself.
Yeah.
So keep that schedule busy. All right, cool. All right, thanks for listening to the podcast this week, guys. Remember, follow us on Instagram, like and subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and of course, subscribe and like to us on YouTube as well. All right, and until next week, catch you next time.
See ya.
Peace.